All right, so we'll give it a second. We
All right.
may or may not be live-ish.
Well, I mean, people will still see this.
True. Very true. All right. Yes, we are live for our
It's better than being
beautiful,
dead,
beautiful
maybe.
house call. Yeah, I don't like being dead. Even in video games, it's not as fun as the other modes most of the time.
Sometimes dying is necessary.
Beautiful house call. Oh, that's how that's gonna work.
What?
My notes were showing up instead of our beautiful faces.
Beautiful. In scare quotes there.
Yeah, yeah. But let me find my notes on the laptop and shift the laptop to a more reasonable place. So, house call.
Yep.
Lethe, you want to kick it off?
Sure. So now you can, as you can see by all of our bumbling, this is live. If we had recorded this, we probably would have cut out the first part instead of just mumbling a lot about nothing.
Unless it was embarrassing to Lethe, because I do the editing.
Yeah. So I'm not worried about that. I am largely incapable of embarrassment. But enough of that. House call. Last week, we did a house call. Today, we are doing another one. Last week, we also did, well, this week, actually, we did a live stream. So previously, since the last time we've spoken to you, we've done a live stream, which was in part some console streaming that kind of worked.
Yeah, that was a little
Now,
unfortunate.
yeah, I mean, but we did get some gameplay out there. We're not sure that it wasn't streaming it twice, and that may have been the reason for some of the bad quality and the sound chirping. But apparently, the sound chirping is a known issue with Elgato streaming. At least that's what I was given to understand. But you will have nonetheless seen our secret game that we did not tell you about until we started playing it. And that was Badland, that bizarre Finnish physics obstacle course puzzle game thing.
Awesome.
And we played it, and we did some screaming and shouting because, well, it's weird and frustrating. You saw us got stuck in that one level for quite some time. And so that was, you heard three voices in that live stream, that portion of the live stream. You heard mine, you heard Phwop, and you heard Zanuck, our unpaid intern.
Oh yeah, he's not here to be. He's not here to know.
Right.
I keep telling him
So,
the check's in the mail.
yeah. And, well, you've said he's unpaid in front of him before. And we also, in that live stream, Phwop played some things as well. So tell us about Space Food Truck.
So, Space Food Truck is awesome, and anyone who wants to play me, message me with a good time. I know, I hope he's a subscriber. My Tablet is his name. Is
My
the one who,
tablet is a subscriber. I saw a message announcing his subscription
oh,
or her
excellent.
subscription.
Excellent. Well, my
Their
tablet
subscription.
asked me if we could play together, and is the one who introduced me to the game. And I would love to play, but I need to know what time. You can shoot me private messages, um, and go ahead, send me an email account I could contact you at, and we can work it out. That goes to anyone else too who wants a copy of Space Food Truck or owns a copy of Space Food Truck and wants to play.
We're not going to give you a copy of Space Food Truck.
No, no, I mean, it's a little expensive, but then again, it's like a full-fledged digitized card game with awesome graphics.
Additionally, one of our other compatriots, Cinnamon Bear, has bought the game, I believe, and so you could also try and coordinate so you can get three. You can have as many people as there are characters, right?
Yeah, yeah, up to 4-player co-op.
Yeah, so it could get at least one other person that we know in there. So maybe you could get yourself a full food truck, a full crew.
Yeah, totally. And I ingloriously ended my long dark playthrough by attempting to spend 4 hours in the freezing cold hacking at a caribou that had just been murdered. To my quiet, uneventful demise. After fighting off 2 wolves in one day, I think.
You know, you're not supposed to go quietly into night, Philip. You didn't read the poem right.
I couldn't help it. It just was, I got greedy and I died. But I would like to play more of both of those games for sure.
And additionally, we still have going for roughly 4 more days now our Darkest Dungeon Repartee giveaway.
Way.
And we have, I think, 8 entries at the moment, and there is currently a 2-way tie for first.
That's right. That's right.
So continue entering and attempting to say something a bit weird or imposing or just epic in the comments so that you can get a copy of Darkest Dungeon.
It's true. It's true. All the entries are pretty solid. I haven't seen any weak links yet, so that's exciting. We also have... We started putting up character guides for Heroes of the Storm, compliments of our housemate Devin, who you may have heard on my previous channel doing some 3-way Heroes of the Storm commentary with us. He is significantly more experienced than either of us
For sure.
at that game in particular, with over 3,000 matches and a nice 63% win rate. We were hashing it out yesterday.
It sounds about right. I don't remember.
Yeah, he's really good, and he was working on a Greymane.
Yeah, so he's done so far. He has for us, and it's under our Odion Arena channel on the BleakHaus collaborative channel. So, in case you don't know, Odion is just a fancy old word for like a place where people recite poetry and do artsy stuff. And of course, an arena is where people battle. So think of it as like a poetry slam. That's what it is. If you actually try and submit any poetry slam recordings, we will not put you on there, however.
Probably.
But currently, there are two videos on that particular playlist. There are 2 guides, one for Brightwing and one for Tassadar. Devin does the content. He plays the game. He does the voiceover, and he's even done the thumbnails for the video. So he's giving us a lot of good work, and we're happy to have him helping us. And like you said, he was playing a lot of Greymane as soon as Greymane came out, trying to scheme on a build, and I think he's probably working on that character guide next, maybe. We'll have to consult him directly. But you will definitely see some Greymane stuff in that area of our channels pretty soon. Personally, I tried to play Greymane, and I died ingloriously and ignominiously many times against the AI. So I'm not gonna try it against actual people. Did you actually play any Greymane, Phwop?
I didn't. I know that by the end of the day, even Devin was getting pretty salty there.
Yeah, that may have had to do with the play of his other teammates and how we were stacking up in a couple of those matches.
Yeah, he's like, I have to play support now. He's like, forget this. I'm playing support.
So if you don't know, Greymane, the newest excuse me, hero added to Heroes of the Storm, it has sort of 2 stances, basically. He has a melee stance as a werewolf, and then a range stance as a person. Although he's a particularly hirsute person, even in person form. So he, shoots his pistola at range, and throws some like Gilnean cocktails.
And iced tea.
And then, of course, as a wolf, he gets up in your face and scratches you. He has 2 ults. One that's basically for his wolf form and one that's basically for his human form. And all of his other abilities have different effects depending on which form you're in.
His W is the same. It's always 50% faster attack speed.
Okay. But it'll be a melee attack when you are in wolf form rather than a ranged attack as human form. So the ability itself's not different, but what you will be doing on what will be boosted is a little bit different.
Yeah.
So I played a little bit. Additionally, our friend Cinnamon Bear was playing a bit of Greymane, and he was giving me some notes about his own build. So maybe we can get him on some Greymane action as well to collaborate, to let everyone know how to play Greymane, because it seems not perfectly intuitive, at least on my end.
Yeah, that makes sense. The hybrid characters are really tough, especially when they have to range switch a lot. And modes in general can just... what were we talking about? Warong from Tekken?
Yeah, Warong. Yeah, it's like, no, left foot, left foot.
Oh, yeah, the switchy foot dance where you just end up giving them the kill. Yeah. So we're probably going to play some of that after this, I assume, right?
Yeah, we'll probably do some hots, see if we can get Devin aboard.
Yeah, we promised him some quality time killing
Yeah.
people.
Now, going forward in the upcoming week before the next house call, we've got a bunch of stuff on our plate. So, personally, you've already seen, as I promised at the last house call, I've started playing some Coder 2. I have, I think, 9 episodes out already. As I said, that's a record it, release it scheme. And of course, that's caused me a little bit of trouble. There's been some sound issues. In a couple of the episodes, the combat drowns out my commentary. And then in trying to fix that in the next couple episodes, entirely turned down the vocal track so you can just hear me and not any of the characters talking. That occurs for about 3 episodes. Now, in the last 2 episodes, I think I finally have it balanced out. You can hear the glorious and condescending droid vocabulation of HK.
Oh,
and
he's so good.
you can listen to other people too, although they're not nearly as interesting.
The Alarak of the Star Wars universe.
For sure. And so I will also do some Diablo 3. I have an episode 0 for that already up. And then tomorrow, when the new season actually starts, I will actually get some gameplay up. The most interesting thing that I learned, and that I will have said in that episode 0, which I didn't know before and didn't mention before in any of our content, was that the season journey reward this time is not merely achievements. There's a guaranteed set of items that you will get if you complete the season journey.
Oh.
Which is much better than stamps in your passport, as it were. These are tangible things which will have mechanical in-game benefits for you. So I think that was a great idea on Blizzard's part, and will get people to continue playing all the way up into the highest tiers of whatever you have to do to get that last item. It's going to be much more of an incentive.
Tempting.
Yeah. So, as you just heard, Phwop said he might get on that, even though Diablo 3 is not one of his favorite things. Cinnamon Bear has expressed great desire to play some with me. So, we'll get some probably multiplayer content with that. It won't just be me going around busting the shit out of skeletons. So, there's a bunch of other things coming up. I don't want to hog all of the time here. So,
all right. Yeah. Yesterday. Let's see. No,
the episode came out today, I think.
Ori and the Blind Forest?
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, so I finished my Ori and the Blind Forest playthrough. I want to keep 3 series on an every 3rd day rotation going on. That sparser rotation lets me cover a lot more game area, and I want to replace Ori with more lighthearted content style games. Not necessarily easier, but let me embiggen myself. Oh, it feels so much better. And so I think for the moment I'm going to go with a couple episodes of Space Food Truck because I'm into it and I would like to drum up some community multiplayer. But after that, I picked up a game that was on sale, probably still is on sale on Steam, called Jotun, and it is a hand-drawn third-person animated action game that just looks to have epic bosses. Like, they are huge compared to you, and it looks to have so much character. It's very highly rated, and I'm very excited to give that a shot in a series.
Did you ever play any of the Dominions game series?
Dominion, no.
So they were kind of like Endless Legend, 4X, strategy type thing. And one of the races you could be all these type of mythical races. Jotunheim was one of them, and then Niflheim, and then you could be Incan people, and you built a god, and then you use that god to spread your influence across the land.
What? That sounds awesome.
Yeah. So this is one of the first sort of co-op strategy games that I played a lot of with Cinnamon Bear when we were in the same place in Edinburgh for a while. We played many, many hours. It's one of those games you almost never finish because it takes so long.
Yeah.
But, yeah. The Jotun thing reminded me of that.
All right. I'll keep that in mind. And that in turn reminded me that one of the games I'd like to put in there might be Battle for Wesnoth.
Oh, right.
Which I consider to be probably the best free game you can get online.
For sure.
Let's see. So my Advent calendar continues. if you've been tracking it, you've noted that I started leaving out images completely, and I suggest you just listen to it because the editing time was just driving me insane. And my dishwasher broke, and I've been repairing it myself, which has taken many hours, unfortunately. And while the advent calendar, I think the content is great. It's definitely all audio at this point, and I'm fine with that because it's a daily release and kind of an experimental thing for me. So I'm really looking forward to. I'm going to start work on the last 7 episodes, the special episodes. I'm not going to tell you why they're special yet, but I'm beginning work on that tomorrow, and I'm really excited to show that off when the time comes. I'm also, due to the large amount of actual gameplay footage coming out from YouTubers now, which I am unabashedly jealous of their preview access to the game, I am going to be correcting all of my estimations that were wrong and including a lot of tactical nuances that I'm picking up. So I'm just absorbing all the content I can, which is more than there are hours in the day. At this point, but really excited for XCOM 2. Things are looking awesome, and a couple of people, Christopher Odd and Beagle Rush, putting out really high quality content. I hear Total Biscuit is, and I'm sure his content is high quality as well. Let's see.
Yes. Sorry, we mentioned Endless Legend when we were talking about Jotun, and I was talking about Dominions. So we are going to try and do some of that collaboratively, most likely, on the BleakHaus channel. And so if you don't know about that, that is in the Endless universe, or whatever they want to call it.
Yeah.
And it's a turn-based strategy game, which is vaguely fantasy. Maybe you call it sci-fantasy. It's, if you're familiar with the series of books, Cycle or something of the New Sun, it's kind of like that, set in a kind of fantasy realm where there exists these ancient technologies that you can find, but none of the living people really understand them that well anymore.
The dark age of technology.
Yeah, kind of like that. And it's fun, and it's one of those strategy games that takes a long time to actually finish. So it's likely that a single game would span over many, many episodes. We're definitely not going to sit down and do one and like knock it out, play for 8 hours straight.
True. That would be an all-day live stream. Yeah, I was tempted. So when my Civ 5 wraps up, that Christmas series, I finished my dad's Christmas present. I was tempted to go with Endless Legend, but since me and Lethe are probably going to play that together at some point, I decided to go with Shogun Total War, a game I really love. There are some great mods for it that I plan on including. I can't remember the name of the mod right now, but I think it's well-renowned. It's the biggest. Mm-hmm. And that's kind of in preparation for the Warhammer Total War that will be coming out. I think the launch is April 28th. Is that what I told you?
I don't remember what you told me.
Yeah, I think it's April 28th. So pretty soon. Good timing on all these nice releases. Darkest Dungeon, XCOM 2, Total War, Warhammer. And Axiom Verge, I kind of want to keep that as a hardcore series. So when that one wraps up, I think I will replace it with a Doom RL, Doom the Roguelike. That's based off the first-person shooter by id Software. But it is very much a brutal RPG roguelike, RPG light roguelike.
Speaking of being based on a first-person shooter, we saw that they are rejuvenating, rebooting, reselling Doom, another version of Doom, coming sometime in the near future.
Yeah, probably this year if they announced it.
Yeah, we saw some basically gameplay footage, and they were explaining the feel and atmosphere of the game and what they were basing it on. I've never been a big fan of the Doom series of games. I've played like the very original one, which is good in its campy way. But so if you're excited about that, the graphics look very good.
Absolutely gorgeous.
The theme of the graphics is in keeping with what it was before. They may have updated it a little bit, made it a bit more cohesive and whatnot, and less, again, cartoony.
Yeah, it's still very Doom 3.
Yeah,
They took their cues from there, but they are absolutely gorgeous character models.
for sure. And so that's in the line of speaking of releases. We, of course, have news, which Phwop has already mentioned a bit in his Darkest Dungeon videos about the Darkest Dungeon release.
Yeah, so I'm going to be live streaming from 10 a.m. Eastern time until at least 10 p.m. Eastern time on January 19th. So,
Which is a Tuesday rather than a Monday. So our stream will be on a different day this coming week.
That's replacing our so far regular Monday live streams next week. But then we should be back Monday, and we're going to do better about creating events for our live stream. It's tough because our console recording, the Elgato, only streams to the public stream. You can't create an event for it. We lost a lot of viewers when we switched to the console this Monday, but we managed to social media beat them back into place.
And you should definitely go back and look at the VOD for that stream, because that game,
That's awesome.
It's very fun. It's incredibly simple. And as I may have stated before, no, I didn't state this before because we haven't talked about this game yet, unless I said it on the stream itself. There's like one control. You press the flap button, like flap, 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 and you can use the joystick a little bit. And when I first saw Janik playing it, I thought, this is dumb. This is the
How could this possibly be fun?
How could this be fun? And moreover, how did it win awards? But lo and behold, not an hour later, we were all drawn in, hypnotized by the flapping of the frangible Truffle Puff. Yeah. And we had to play. We had to finish all of the first 40 levels, drawn on by the macabre background illustration and the story that it implied.
Yeah, so, we should show them some of the versus play.
Yeah, we didn't do much of that, but yeah, it's a bit weird.
I'm sure it's weird with the ability to flap and physics each other with our truffle bodies.
Yeah,
I can't imagine, but physics games are hilarious.
And in the actual stream, we do on co-op the first 40 levels, which is day 1. It then, of course, moves into day 2, and then there is like nighttime or daydream. There are 4 stages. There's like day 1, day 2, daydream, and then apocalypse or devastation or nightmare or something like that.
Yeah, something awful, I'm sure.
Yeah,
I can't imagine. I can't imagine where you can go from there. I couldn't even, because at the beginning of the game, I couldn't have imagined where you went from.
Yeah,
it was nuts. Let's see. Before I talk about XCOM, Long War, and stuff, why don't you cover Tides?
Okay. So many of you may have kickstarted this yourself, but there has been the long-awaited, it's now long-awaited, Tides of Numenera, which is a sequel to the famous and wonderful Planescape Torment.
Oh, so good.
In the same D&D story universe.
Planescape,
Planescape, due to Monte Cook. And the first game is wonderful, and soon beta access to that game will begin. And then rather quickly after that, early access will begin. And this is all on Steam. So that's definitely that game. That type of game, a role-playing game, and in that universe is definitely my bag. So I'm going to cover that. We're deciding whether we want to get in on the beta early access, but we will definitely, or I will definitely, do a Planescape run-through leading up to the release of Tides of Numenera. So you will be able to follow the journeys of the Nameless One as he learns about himself and answers the question, what can change the nature of a man? Apparently, the question, again, the sequel is centered around a question as well. The promotional materials say that this time the question is, what is the worth of one life? So, heavy stuff there.
Yeah, when I mean, I've played through Planescape Torment, and anyone would tell you who's played through it that is one of the best Dungeons and Dragons games ever released, especially before the 3.0 was that Neverwinter Nights was 3.0.
Yeah, Neverwinter Nights was 3.0.
I think that was the first.
You're still in second edition for Planescape Torment. You have a really obnoxious percentage chance for thief skills and
Thaco.
And all those terrible things that only serious grognards actually think are good.
Yeah, that system was so brutal. But I think that game epitomized the best parts about that system, which is when the Dungeon Master takes you completely off the rails, gives you ridiculous special abilities, and makes it as fun as possible to play. Because
it also releases you from the strictures that existed of the class system and multi-classing. It takes, that was one of the most obnoxious things about second edition. There was the limits on going cross classes because some classes were just objectively worse than others.
Yeah.
It sort of, because there's so much XP available, you don't have to worry about how much XP it takes to actually advance at all. Moreover, because you're a nondescript species, you don't have to deal with, and they just generally remove the species barriers to advancing in certain classes or beyond the level in certain classes. That's right. I am old enough to know all this stuff about second edition.
Oh yeah.
I blame Phwop.
Sorry, that was my fault. I don't know if I introduced you, but we played.
Close enough.
Close enough. So yeah, really looking forward. I'm going to be watching that one because while I don't have time to play it myself, I really want to go through it again. And when I played, I don't think we had sound or something. Like when my version didn't have the vocals.
Oh,
and
vocals
I remember
are good.
reading, especially that the brothel of slating intellectual lusts had some of the best voice acting in any game.
Well, I mean, for sure, Jennifer Hale, the famous and ubiquitous Jennifer Hale, voices Falls from Grace, I'm pretty sure.
Yep, I heard she was amazing.
The voice actor for Dakon is Mitch Pileggi, the guy who did assistant director Skinner in the X-Files show.
Oh, really?
The guy who voices the Nameless One was the star of a show that went for a couple seasons called The Pretender. The suit of armor, I think, is Keith David, who's a famous actor and voice actor. Let's see. This Morte is famous. I can't remember, but he does a lot of he has done a lot of cartoon voice acting.
Billy Crystal?
No, not remotely. So they really went all out on that game in terms of writing, in terms of voice talent, in terms of mechanics. So it is well worth a play. The graphics obviously won't stand up, but who cares?
And they were done in a cartoony enough way to make it still live on.
Right.
So really looking forward to that. I'm certainly going to be watching every episode. Especially because you will do more stuff than I would bother to do in my own playthrough.
Oh, I will do everything. I will have high wisdom and I will have high intelligence so that I can get every last conversation option and milk it for all the XP it's worth.
So much XP in the conversations in that game. So, the last thing on my list to talk about is Long War. So XCOM, Enemy Within, and Enemy Unknown have both benefited from the fantastic work of Johnny Lump, Ominary, and the Long War team. And they have, just a couple weeks ago, announced that they are starting their own game. It's going to be called Terra Invictus. Their own game design company as well. I forget what the company is actually called. And they are done updating the Long War mod. They bumped it up to Long War 1.0 from its incredibly long, 2-year stint, maybe 2-year plus in beta. It got up to version 3.13F in beta, I think, and then there were 3 release candidates before they hit 1.0. And they kind of opened up the floodgates on modding the Air War. If you don't know, I am an XCOM modder myself. and I really got into Long War. Really got into modding on top of Long War, and have released my own total overhaul based on the changes they made in Long War. And it's not just a different Long War, it is a completely different game, I think, that I've created. And it's going to be even more different now that they have opened up modding of the Arab War. There's a really nasty second wave option that I like that punishes you for waiting around on maps and not really engaging in combat. So just sitting there and overwatching for 8 turns is not worth it, which I find awesome and is going to go on my suggested second wave options for my own mod. And I've been really cracking into that recently. I finally got the time. Advent calendar is cooling down. I cut down the amount of effort it took by just going audio only on that. And I'm really excited to release version 1.4 of Art of War mod. That's my mod. You can find on Nexus Mods, where Long War is also discoverable. If you haven't played these mods, the original XCOM was an exploratory game where you had plenty of slack to experiment, find out what worked, and recover from your losses. And I expect XCOM 2 is going to be the same way. The Long War mod took all of that slack and gave you extra tools, but then forced you to play it like it was a roguelike, with like death looming around every corner. It was incredibly brutal. I even hesitate to play on the hardest difficulties due to the sheer length and difficulty of the game. It's so grinding brutal. And they did so much modding. There's so many new processes in there. Like, it was kind of sad to see the last version go up and know that it wasn't going to change again, because every time they added something, it was incredible and new. There's new psi powers that they modded in. There's whole new processes. They upgraded the strategic game to be actually difficult. It's utterly fantastic. If you enjoyed XCOM, it's the only way to play XCOM any within these days. And hopefully my Art of War mod is going to pick up that torch, because I can tell you it is definitely the most
Thorough.
What's that?
Thorough,
yeah, the most thorough usage of all the processes in the original XCOM and the ones they added in Long War. I take advantage of everything to push the game engine to the max, and I think when it's done, mine is still in beta. It won't be complete. Probably this year I'll finish it, but it is just me working on it with some, hopefully some scripting help.
Yeah, I mean, so those of us who have, listened to Phwop talk about this mod are not necessarily sad to see that Long War stopped making changes to it.
It's nice because now the scope of my mod is set. I don't have to keep adjusting it. And
so
there's only so much
when
I
he
can do.
he earlier said that he really got into this Long War modding, he's not kidding. There was a drive from the Philadelphia area to the Atlanta area, in which, I shit you not, for 12 hours, that is the only thing we talked about.
Yeah, that's true. And most of those changes are going to come to pass. And then, of course, XCOM 2 is going to be highly moddable. So
I look forward to more road trips of 1.5 sided conversations.
Yeah. We could just hop on 76 and sit there for 4 hours. Just
drive around.
Yeah, rush hour. All right, so that's probably plenty from me. Anything?
Yeah. I think we've covered everything. Now we should get on to trying to create some more collaborative content for the collaborative channel.
Yeah, I saw Devin chomping at the bit. Mm-hmm. Or is it champing?
I think you can champ or chomp.
All right, we'll do both. He's probably doing both.
Yeah.
Those community members. All right, well, in that case, I want you all to remember that it is all downhill from here.
Yeah, and if you're not watching any of our videos or, participating in our competition, liking our channel, blah, 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 I don't care what you do.